Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 8, Episode 1 of Counties Podcast, Season 8. I mean, really. Anyway,
I know.
it's been a long old time.
Since we were Saturday going, should we do this podcast?
Yeah, I wasn't involved for the first 35.
No, it was about 23, wasn't it? So,
Yeah, I think it came on as an interview, and then about a few weeks later, I got the offer.
Yeah.
Left it with my agents, and here I am.
Yes, I
tell you what, though, we've seen some changes and some highlights, haven't we?
Yeah, we've gone from audio to video.
Ta-da! And maybe back to audio as well, if this works.
Well, it's not back to audio, but back to both, or moving forward both, because I think when we moved to video last season, that obviously it used to go out via iTunes, and a lot of people listen on, podcast type devices. I do need to look into how we got onto Spotify, because a lot of people use Spotify these days. So hopefully I can do that. And then, back to audio only, as well as obviously going onto YouTube.
People can't say that we've not tried to move with the times, that we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, those of Isthmian League fame. Anyway, we've got a podcast to do. So, hello everyone. I'm Gary Langley, your host for this podcast. I am a league director, and that's pretty much it. The safeguarding officer as well. And with me for Season 8, Episode 1, Season 8, is my esteemed colleague, league director, head of league media, results coordinator. Anything else, Martin, that you got?
Yeah, I run the website.
He runs the website as well. He's just does everything.
So,
he's the go-to kind of guy. So it's Mr. Martin Fallon. Hi, Martin.
Hi, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. I just about recovered from our snooker exploits.
Oh yes, the inaugural County Podcast Snooker Toffee Crisp tournament.
I suitably got my ass kicked. However, I can't deny that some of the shots by my now absent colleague were rather sharp. So stuff happens, as they say.
Speaking of, obviously we played for a toffee crisp the other day. But I was in Asda the other day. Other supermarkets obviously also sell stuff.
So true.
And seen these. I don't know if you.
Unlucky.
I know. That's what blew my background. I don't know why I'm blurring it. Anyway, it's like, I look blurred, not blurred. It's like pretty the same. So anyway, what?
No, well, that's a game changer. Orange Toffee Crisps.
I was just going to say, for those on the audio only, it doesn't really do anything.
Take my word for it. If you just listen on audio, he's holding up a very natty blue and orange packaging with Toffee Crisp orange in. They've got to be better than the Twirl equivalent.
I will let you know. I think I need to put them in the fridge. I think it's a bit squidgy in this weather.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've missed a gig over the summer, haven't we, with the virtual online cup. You normally do draws with beer cans and tins of soup.
The Twitter Cup was just for when we had COVID and we had no football, really. But
you could have done it with chocolate bars, though.
What you're going to say, speaking of melting then, on the way back from Blackpool the other day, I stopped off on the way, got myself a tub of Haribo from Tesco Extra, going around the supermarkets at the minute.
Well, we're doing it any time of year, not just for Halloween.
Yeah, so a little tub of Haribo. On the way back, I ate all the heart ones, which nobody likes, and the eggs.
Oh, yeah. Nice bit of foam.
All the foam ones, I left all the jelly ones. Anyway, got back to Runcorn, left the Haribo in my car and forgot all about it until Tuesday. And you know what the weather's been like this week?
Scotcho.
Yeah, so I got in my car, all the jelly Haribo had melted.
Ooh.
And I was left with the liquid in my car, 35 degrees. Anyway, put it in the fridge, and I got one massive Haribo about that big.
Oh,
honestly, it's amazing.
Fantastic. You know, if you go into those American candy stores, you can buy a big jelly teddy and it costs you about 30 quid. You've just done it for about $3.99. Hat tips.
It's fabulous.
Life hack. So anyway, on the subject of Blackpool, one of the main reasons for chairing a podcast, it's not that bad. Podcast even is that Martin and I, amongst many, many others, have just returned from our League AGM in Blackpool, and what a good occasion it was.
Yep.
Martin and I obviously got there quite early, so hence the tournament, and the hot fried chicken.
Well, yeah, Friday we got there, both of us. Reason we do that is obviously, the AGM's at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning at the Imperial Hotel. It's not just a case of turning up and doing it. You've got to sort the room out. You've got to sort the table plans out and make sure everybody's there and allocated and stuff. So for us, it actually starts about 9:30ish. It's a lot easier basically to go up on the Friday, stay over, have breakfast when you get up, which is obviously a nice bonus. It was a good breakfast in my hotel, I must admit.
Well, it wasn't. Well, it was better than mine. I went to a local cafeteria because I was staying the other side of the Imperial, and I ended up going into work in the morning because I work in Blackpool, and went to a local cafe. And in all fairness, it sounded a bit like your Haribo. It just sort of congealed into one. But anyway, bit of bubble and squeaked into you anyhow.
Yeah. And then we were at the Imperial for about 9:30 setting up. So talk about the AGM itself, I guess.
I think what we could do, Martin, is to give people a bit of an insight into what happens, because obviously lots made of it. I mean, even I got into some of the leg pulling on social media before we go. Someone suggested I think it was at the Grand, and I'm like, oh, I had a little look, Blackpool, the Grand Hotel. It looked grim. But yeah, I mean, to a lot of people in this modern age, there was pictures that came out from the NPL AGM. Obviously, you were quite good in getting our AGM info out there on the day. So I think it might be worth just giving people just a bit of an insight into what was going on the day. So should we start off with obviously start off with where and when? Should we say, should we explain how it was broken up into two sessions? There was sort of business in the morning and then the evening. We can get to the evening in a bit. So
yeah.
Who went and what went on?
So the AGM is obviously for members only, really. You can have basically every secretary. You have typically every secretary there at the front of the room, one for each club. It's on sort of three long tables, really, one for each division. Just behind them is basically guests, so other representatives from clubs. So say, for example, in Runcorn Town, our chairman came with me. It's only one person at the front, which is for sort of voting rights and stuff like that. It's easy to tell who's voting. And then anybody else, any other representatives are at the back of the room. New clubs, like
shirt and tie affair as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be. It's a formal occasion, really. It's not just a meeting. It's a big. It's where all your league business comes. I mean, we get the agenda through, don't we, from John Deal, who's the league secretary. And there's roughly 18, 20 items on the agenda, which
it's the business end of the season, isn't it? We're rounding up the season that's just gone in effect and starting the new 2022-23 season. So there's certain protocols of clubs coming in through the door. It's more symbolic these days, admittedly. And then there's clubs leaving the door, normally to a strong round of applause as well. It's about getting through that agenda itself. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not saying the Northern Premier League one, but that's how ours is set up: three sort of longish tables, and then the sort of guests at the back. Well, new clubs at the back as well, to be honest, because there's no room at the front for them. So the meeting sort of starts off. The chairman generally does a sort of overview of the season. He talks about the clubs who are leaving the league, thanks them for their service, talks about clubs that are coming in, and then sort of other stuff. Really, whatever's on his mind. Really, is up to Paul. Really. So yeah, we did that at first, and then I think the next sort of main bit was basically sort of like exclusion of clubs. Really.
Yeah, we ratified things like the accounts as well, don't we? So
I was going to come on to them. I think they're later on.
We can get to that. Yeah. The exclusion of clubs, though, because what happens is, in theory, the new clubs aren't in from the start. because we're still in 21-22 season business.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, in effect, we basically say cheerio and boot them out, don't we, Martin?
Yeah,
in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, so like I say, Paul does his bit, and then we exclude clubs. So it's not like we're kicking clubs out because of the naughty. It's literally, Macclesfield have got promoted to Step 4, which is the Northern Premier League. Would you like to say a few words? And then generally they stand up and they give, a minute sort of speech to the room about their time in the league, what they've enjoyed about it, etc. So we did that with what all 5, was it 5 clubs we lost? So we lost Macclesfield, and Skelmersdale, who got promoted. The 2 Saints.
Campion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2 Saints got relegated, so St Martin's and St Helens Town.
Unfortunately, that they couldn't make the day, could they? They had other engagements, and I can understand. The circumstances. It's not a great place to be when you're saying cheerio to friends, even if it might be for a season.
It's not, I know, but
I thought the likes of the clubs that were leaving us all spoke well, though, didn't they? Macclesfield showed a lot of humility. They appreciated that. They enjoyed the time in the counties. It invigorated the feeling for the game, and obviously they've done well out of it, and thanks all concerned.
Yeah, I mean the 2 dropping down, they can recognise, I think, those 2 that sometimes you need a season out the league to come back stronger. So St Martin's were, I think, massively out the depth this season. As we know at Runcorn, if you start off bad, you're chasing your tails, and obviously they really couldn't get out the mess they found themselves in. But you've got to hand St Martin's full credit. They battled on right to the end. It was a bunch of pretty young lads, all under 20, that squad that sort of ended the season, and I think they'll be the better for it. I've already seen a couple of pre-season games. They had a tournament. I think it was only a small-sided game tournament, but they won that. So, they're getting back in the winning habit, and hopefully they'll be back. And the same with St Helens Town. They've been in the league for 40 years since the very first season. So, yeah, hopefully they'll be out for one season. And then, the other 2 clubs were Golka United and Campion AFC, who have both been laterally moved over to the Northern Counties East. So Campion, they requested a move over. They were laterally moved to us the season before, which they didn't want. And you got to give them credit. They didn't just moan all season. They got on with it.
Yeah.
They started off slowly, but they became a tough sort of team to beat, I thought, towards the end of that season.
I remember speaking to a couple of their guys sort of mid-season, and they looked at the positives from our friends at Emily.
Yeah.
Earlier, and apparently Emily came over to us, got stronger, and went back much stronger on and off the park, ready to go again. And they were looking for the positives in it out of that. So they weren't standing around moaning for the whole season. They had to go for it. They did what they could, and it worked out for them in the end. That the FA looked at their application for the move, and they're going back over. But they left wishing everyone well, appreciating the time in the league, and it'd be good to catch up with them again in future VARs games, which I'm sure.
Gold obviously in a little bit of a different situation, because they didn't lastly request a move over to the Northern Counties East. I think they were quite happy with us in the Northwest Counties. I mean, they're this side of Huddersfield, so they're pretty on the border, to be honest. It's not like they're in Yorkshire anyway. So yeah, it was one of them, but it's the case of clubs on the periphery are always going to be at risk of lateral movement, unfortunately, especially with the way the FA have got the sort of structure set up at the minute with Step 5 with just one in the Northwest like it is. So what can you do?
Exactly.
So those 6 clubs, once they give their thanks, they left the room to much applause.
They did indeed. There was a lot of goodwill in the room when they left, as there always is, to be fair.
Yeah. So from their point of view, their day was over. They'd been excluded, presumably. I don't know if there was. Well, the Northern Premier League AGM was the week before, wasn't it?
It was. It was in Birmingham, so it was. It seemed quite a big deal. I don't know if they'd merged some of their areas or had a bigger stance.
Yeah, it's because they obviously got the new league now, haven't they? They got another Step 4 league and another Step 3 league. So basically, it's become a bigger deal for them. Quite why they had it in Birmingham, I don't know. 'Cause you think Manchester was more the central of that league, but anyway, it's up to what they want. That's for us to say. But yeah, I mean, usually they go to their AGM and do exactly the same thing, get accepted there. So technically, I guess they were members of 2 leagues for a week.
Well, yeah, I would imagine the likes of Skem and Macclesfield would have been down in Birmingham. They would have been daft not to. They would have had to, I suppose. So
yeah, they would have
doing it slightly back to front. I know in recent years, I mean, obviously it's not just about business, but in recent years, guys have gone out of our front doors, gone out into the front, gone to the big hotel next door, but 3, and then darted straight into their AGM. So they've had to stagger the kickoff times a wee bit to get them in.
Yeah.
But slightly back to front this year.
Yeah,
but still good to see everyone.
Yeah, so obviously they go out the room, and then we invite new clubs into the room. So it's a bit different nowadays, isn't it? Because previously it was up to the Northwest Counties who was in the league. So let's rewind sort of 12 years to Runcorn Town coming in. So what we had to do was we came into the room as a new club or a new applicant. We give a speech as to who we are, why we wanted to come into the league, that type of stuff. And then we left the room while the members decided, which was always a weird thing, because you sat outside going, don't know what's going on in that room.
Glass up to the door.
Glass up to the door, yeah. In fact, you couldn't do that. I think there was a member outside with us, so you couldn't do that. But and then we went back in to find out our fate, so to speak. But these days, it's all done before, and the FA allocates. You know, we've had the allocation since middle of May, haven't we?
Yeah. So it's slightly different protocol now, isn't it?
It's a rubber stamping exercise these days. So anyway, the new clubs, they get invited in from outside, because obviously they're not allowed in from the start because they're not members of the league at that point. So it's only when they get invited in, they do the opposite in effect, which is, you know, that they run through who they are, like I just said, what we did with Runcorn, basically. So all of the new clubs, we had Kendal Town dropping down from the Northern Premier League. They got relegated last season. We've got Exton Villa and FC St Helens, who are in the Northern section. So they've got promoted from the Lancashire League and the Cheshire League. And then in the Southern Division, we've got Stockport Georgians, which are from the Manchester League, Asheville from the West Cheshire League, and Foley Mere from the Staffordshire County League. So, in fact, you know, five teams promoted from the County Feeder League is fantastic, I think.
It's good going as well. I think what's interesting as well to note that a lot of these clubs had been working with the league for a number of years to try and get to that point as well. I know certainly, you know, even go back to my development days, Stockport Georgians are well on the radar, and a number of the other clubs were as well. You know, we sort of had an idea.
Yeah, Foley Mere have been knocking on the door a while as well. But you know, that's where we work with clubs. We basically say, if you're a county feeder league team and you've got any interest in coming into the Northwest Counties, get in touch. We'll come down. Well, I think it's a free grading visit for your first one.
I think the first one is, yeah.
So we'll go around, we'll have a look at your ground, and we'll say exactly what needs to do to get you up to the standard, you know, to get into the league. It's changed massively over the years. You don't need floodlights to come in now. You just have to have them up by the September after coming in. No, if you've got them up, it's a bonus because you can go in the FA Vars straight away. But, you know, the likes of Exton Villa, Asheville have got lights. Foley Mere haven't got lights, I don't think. So like Asheville can go in the FA Vars this season, whereas Exton Villa, for example, FC St Helens Towns, they won't be able to because they haven't got lights up, you know, when they apply for the Vars. So, but you can get into the league without them. It used to be the case of you have to spend £40,000 or whatever, £50,000 to get your lights in, and without being guaranteed to get into the league. So it's a better way of doing it now.
that wasn't a bazillion years ago either that was happening, and that was still the case up to a couple of seasons back. That there had to be some sort of agreement or funding in place that when you got in, that those lights, as soon as you got the nod, those lights were going up.
Yeah,
and I know it's a difficult thing to do at this day and age. Now there seems to be a little bit more, I won't say leniency, but there's a lot more proactiveness in trying to work with clubs who have got that ambition to try and help them realise it. So I think it works well.
Yeah. So yeah, all 6 teams, they basically gave a speech, and they were elected into the room. So at that point, the constitution for the new season was done. We got 22 clubs in the Premier Division for this season. Got 18 in the North and 20 in the South. So still 60 overall, but it's a bit of a mismatch. Really.
A bit wonky.
Yeah.
Did those new clubs have to say anything to the room, Martin?
Yeah, that's what I said. They came in and they gave a speech as to who they are, that type of stuff, and then they got elected sort of afterwards.
I thought they all spoke rather well as well. It's a big occasion for them. They all came in. They're all obviously up for it. The guy from Stockport, Georgians, gave us a good in-depth history of the club as well. They've been knocking around for a serious amount of time, and all the clubs that were in there that day looked the part. So
yeah,
they're up for it.
Yeah, it was good.
Well.
What was next? The next was, as you say, there's a couple of administrative procedures. So we adopted the accounts for the year, which I think that technically concludes the season, doesn't it? Once the accounts are done, that finishes the season. Really?
Yeah, they're about. We have an accountancy firm representative come in,
Yeah.
a full-on auditor who vouches for the validity of the accounts, and then they get adopted.
Yeah, and then after that it's basically moving on to the second half of the meeting, which is looking forward. It's not, the last season's is done, so it's looking forward. So first item for the sort of second half is electing the members of the management committee. So for those who don't know, there's 12 members of the management committee, and we sit basically for 3 years each. So every AGM, there's 4 management committee members up for re-election. So there was 3 up this year. Let me just see who they were.
I think there was 3 or 4 because we had to move, didn't we? Because
so basically,
as a committee, we decided on a bit of an honour for Paul. If
I'll come on to that. So basically, this year there was Chris Stirrup, Craig Buxton, Glyn Jones, and Ian Williams. So they were all up for re-election. They got elected unannounced, unopposed, because there was no other nominations. So they'll serve another 3 years till 2025. The one sort of bit of news is, unfortunately, we lost one of our life members sort of last September. So we generally have 5 life members of the league. Obviously, we only had 4, so to put that up to the full quota of 5, Paul Lawler was elected, proposed, and elected to become a life member of the league. So therefore, because he's a life member, he doesn't have to be a member of the management committee. So he was basically Jeff Voller, who's the secretary of St Helens Town. He got proposed to come onto the league management committee. So he in effect took Paul's place, and he'll serve 2 years, which until 2024. That's when that vacancy was free from, and then he'll be up for re-election again. So yeah, that's the process basically, because we're elected by we run the league in effect, but we're elected by the clubs. We're elected by member clubs. So if clubs don't like what we're doing, that's the process to vote us out. In effect,
yeah,
it's a transparent sort of process. You get somebody else proposed and seconded, and then clubs would vote on it at the AGM. It's just, I think the last couple of years has been a bit lacking in nominations. Really,
it's been very quiet. Clubs. Yeah, because I was thinking to myself on Saturday, because normally when somebody gets elected on, they have to do the walk of fame from the back to the front, and I was the last one to do that. I was back in 2015, I think. I had to come from back to the front in front of all my peers and give a very brief, and it was very brief, speech thanking everyone for coming on, even though I got on by default because there was the room. I still had to say hello, but that didn't happen this weekend. But still, a most welcome addition to the committee anyway, because it's great to get experience on. Who's someone who knows the league, how it works, and obviously Jeff's been around since the year dot.
Yeah, so I must admit, I enjoy doing my work for the league. I must admit, I wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And what I've learned, especially over the last season, is that the club work that you do moves on at a pace, and clubs can be quite edgy. But as a league, you've got a structured workload, and you're there at the end of a phone at all times for all different things, and that in itself can be quite rewarding. But there's a lot to it, and it is quite a varied workload, and there's that many on the committee, and everyone's got, by and large, everyone's got a role, or at least one, 7 in your case, Martin. But we all have roles that we do on behalf of the league, and we're doing it for the league, for the clubs.
Yeah, indeed.
So
what's next? Next up was basically standardised rules. So these are basically the rules at our level of the game that come from the FA. So there's not much you can do, basically. There's just, you have to formally adopt them. So there's not much change in it. The one major change for this season at our level is that from the 5 substitutes that are named, on a match day, you can now use all 5. So
that doesn't mean that we can have 9 subs sitting in the dugout, though, does it? It's got to be 5 from 5.
Yeah, it's still named 5 on the team sheet, but you can actually use all 5. It used to be 3 from 5. I think it's a good thing in a way.
You've got to move with the times.
It saves basically lads, sort of giving up the time and coming to football and not, sorry lads, can't put you on. I can only use 3 subs. There's no excuse now. If you look at the county feeder leagues beneath us, they've gone one step further, which has been in place for probably 5 years now, which is you can name 5 subs and it's rolling subs at their level. So you can bring somebody off and bring somebody back on, which, when it first came out, it was like, it's never going to work. It's going to be like American football where you bring off your corner specialists. When you've got to bring on your corner specialist when you've got a corner, and then as soon as that's cleared, you'll take them back off again, and you'll put which it doesn't actually work like that in real life. It's just you never get people going down to 10 men because of injury, because you could always put somebody back on again. So we've not gone to that at our level yet. Whether we will or not, I've no idea. I can't see it, to be perfectly honest, but I think the FA
in every division, wouldn't they? They'd have to do it throughout the NLS if they're going to bring it in. Although saying that,
well, I was just going to say the FA are increasingly focusing on steps 1 to 4 being the elite, really, aren't they? So they have their own sort of rules and stuff anyway at the minute. So
that's only their opinion, though.
Who knows? It is, yeah, it is. But yeah, I don't think they will. So yeah, the rules were agreed, and that was the main change. There was no changes sort of proposed for any FA rule changes or any league changes or league cup changes, nothing like that. I don't think. Don't recall anything anyway. After that, we got basically a fees tariff and then a fines tariff. So they were basically agreed. No changes made, I don't think. Oh, in fact, the one thing that may change is referee fees, because referees, when they go into games, for those who don't know, we pay them. They get a fee for the game, and they also get a mileage allowance. Well, obviously, with the price of living going up, then it may be that mileage allowance goes up, compared to what it has been in previous seasons. I don't know, but that's going to get decided basically at the referees sort of meeting, which is in a couple of weeks. So, it's not something we needed to sort of worry about at the minute anyway. But that could be a change. It's irrelevant anyway, because it's across the board, so it'll affect all 60 clubs in exactly the same way. And for those who don't know, we actually do an equalisation thing at the end of the season. So, say Cleatamore Celtic, for example, it costs them an awful lot more money on referees than it would Daisy Hill, for example, because they're in the middle of Lancashire. They've got loads of referees around them. Cleatamore Celtic referees have to travel and they have to spend loads on the mileage. At the end of the season, it's actually levelled out, so each club pays exactly the same amount. So Cleatamore would get a refund of a couple of £100. Daisy will be asked to pay a couple of £100 to sort of level it out. So yeah, that's
which is fair.
That's done. Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting though as well to note, for those who don't know, all the fines, fees, and tariffs are all agreed by the clubs at the start of the season. So when somebody's known that they've been fined £100, which is a ridiculous fine for such and such, everyone agrees these fines at the start, so everyone's on a level playing field. Well, everyone knows what they're up against.
If somebody doesn't like it, put in a proposal to change it.
Yeah.
And then at the 2023 AGM, say we've had a proposal from Bob at Toffee Crisp FC, for example. This has been proposed. It's been seconded by, Aero FC. Can we have a show of hands for those who want to do it? And I think it's a 2/3 majority. If there's 2/3 of the room saying, "Yeah, that's fair," then it'll get done accordingly. It's not us as management committee or directors that set this; it's clubs. So, yeah.
I think was that pretty much it after that, weren't it? We had a Q&A.
Basically, there was the last two. We have a league insurance scheme.
Yes.
For the league. So again, for those who don't know, each club pays exactly the same amount for their insurance. Because what we found, we covered 9 different FAs in the North West Counties League. Yep, that's the one. Prizes. Yep. Yep.
And they were actually rather good with their information over the weekend as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Martin, I interrupted. Carry on.
No, it's all right. We covered 9 different FAs, and what we found is, say player insurance, for example. So if you get a broken leg, you might get £75 a week from one county FA, whereas another county FA would say, well, that's got to be a minimum of £150. So there was fluctuations all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a number of years ago, we said we're not doing that now. Everybody's paying exactly the same for exactly the same amount of cover, which is a lot higher cover than what you sort of get at your county feeder leagues. It involves, your committee members of clubs, for example. It involves them travelling to games. It involves clubhouse insurance. It's not just players; it's a whole host of insurances that get covered. So yeah, that was basically. There's no proposals for change, so they got Tice's of running the scheme again. Again, that's a clubs thing. If clubs don't like it, somebody wants to put in a proposal that we don't want to do that anymore. We want to go back to how it used to be. Then just put the proposal in. It's up to clubs at the end of the day.
That majority, and then you can, but very rarely that changes, is it really? Not in the modern era.
The very last thing was, again, appointment of auditors for next season's accounts, and they got unopposed. There was no other sort of people put forward, and then that sort of closed the sort of formal AGM business. It takes about 45 minutes or something like that. 40?
Yes, 47 minutes or something. There's a standing joke, isn't there, every year about the length of it, and it's a nice little bit of humour, but yeah, we have a standing joke about how long it takes to get the business done.
Yeah.
But this year, I think the AGM took about 47 minutes, and then the add-ons took about an hour and 47.
Yeah. So we'll just bring up the add-ons. Let's going to get a drink. I see you drinking away there, and I'm like,
stay hydrated, mate.
Yeah, I've got one in the fridge here, so I'm just prepared earlier, but forgot to get it.
And if that runs out, I've got a little something for later. Anyway, I digress.
Just a Vimto. Just a Vimto, that's all.
Ben Aldwick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair play.
It is a 2022 ground hot pint glass.
Oh, hey, you did a pint glass. Get out of town.
Yeah, so basically it's hard plastic, not one of these cheap plastic ones. So obviously at the ground hop they got sort of 500 of them. They sold them for £2, and then at the end, if you wanted to give your glass back, you get your £2 back. It's like a deposit type thing. But okay. I thought I like that. I'm gonna keep hold of it. So it's quite a nice glass, to be honest.
You'll end up like me. I've got a collection of football mugs from all over Scotland, all around the counties. If I see a mug, I'll normally buy it because normally they're pretty cheap as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done. Always good to support the clubs. So, Martin, we just finished business. And then we get into a considerable amount of add-ons, don't we?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm getting a bit hungry now. Yeah. Before that,
we've not even got to the evening, do we?
No. So the add-ons basically is question and answers from the floor, in effect, which I don't think there was that many this year, to be honest.
The main one for me was the one from Brent, which on the Bake Up podcast, he did say was coming, and I don't think anybody disagreed with what Brent was saying. Would you like to elaborate on what that was, Martin?
No, don't know what he said.
Okay, it was basically.
I must have been. I think
it was about the difference in numbers.
I think I was taking the picture. It was on the league website. So I had to.
Yeah, you were on the balcony. So basically,
go up to the balcony and do that.
Good pictures, by the way. You got me standing up there with the mic looking like I'm the karaoke king. But anyway, I digress. So the point was raised by Brent, not just about the current imbalance of teams from the Premier Division to the Division 1 levels, but also the future going forward. Because the amount of teams that are potentially lingering to come up. Now, normally, I can vouch for this in my development days, we had a radar. We sort of knew who was going to be coming up in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, or at least we'd try, subject to getting promoted. And at the moment, there's not that many looming on the spectre. And of course, there's always the possibility of teams being laterally moved, or they might be suitable to be laterally moved. So we could end up with potentially a 26-28 team Division 1, which would be fun, or Premier Division.
Well,
the numbers are going to be nuts.
St Helens got relegated this year. In fact, we've ended up with 18 in the First Division North. So, there's an argument of, well, the FA say we're full. We're full at step 6. Well, if we're full, how come we've got less teams than last year? We're only full because they haven't divvied it up properly. So there's some other step 6 team at league down south somewhere. I've not looked who. There's some other step 6 league who will have 22 teams in it.
Yeah, or 21, and a couple of divisions of 21 when they should be budging them all, or northwards.
Should be 20.
To give us an extra couple.
And it's exactly the same at step 5 for our Premier Division. So we've got 22. There'll be another one somewhere with 18.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. It should be exactly the same. Now, the problem we've got, I'm sort of with the FA on this one, really.
At Mr. Fallon, if you're following it on Twitter.
Because it needs to be equal throughout the pyramid. So they are right in that there's no vacancies, but the fact they've divvied it up incorrectly, they broke their own rules. They need to stick to these 360 clubs at step 6, and there's 20 in a division. That's it. And
this is what we've said all along on the podcast for our many seasons, particularly in recent years, when we've always said you get promoted or relegated to and from a step. So if they're enforcing that to and from a step, they should at least divvy them out, right? That's what in effect Brent was getting at, and what we're agreeing with as well in it. I think everyone agreed on the day.
But we've got a massive problem now next season coming up. Massive problem, which it's going to be a car crash this time next year. So we've got 22 in the Premier Division. There could be 4 teams relegated to us from the First Division, from the Northern Prem West next season.
We've been unlucky, but yeah, it's possible.
Now they've filled everything up and they've filled all the gaps. The bottom 2 will be relegated to us, and the 3rd and 4th bottom will be in playoffs against step 5 teams. So it's very realistic that 4 will come down to us. It's not a pie in the sky figure. It's a 2 will, and 2 will be in playoffs to avoid coming to us in effect.
So we could end up with the world's biggest AGM. Might need to
So
hire a
basically,
stadium for it.
we've got 22 teams now. That'll be 26. Yeah.
Yeah. Just pretend that I'm writing something down.
Yeah, that'll be 26.
Yeah.
We've got the First Division North winners, First Division South winners.
Yeah.
And the 2 playoff winners.
Yeah.
Will get promoted. That's a fact. So you're up to 30 clubs there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what will happen is there's 2 getting relegated from the Premier Division this season. Even though we've gone up to 22 clubs, it's still 2 down. It's not 4 down, it's 2 down.
Right, okay.
So you've got 30 clubs down to 28. So to get back to that magic 20 number, 8 teams will have to be laterally moved. 8.
There we go, sir. That's my calculation.
Wally sells me that, Gary.
No, hey, listen, I don't wear the glasses, mate. Dead ringer? Anyway. Now you're getting hungry. Anyway, I was right with you on the sums, and I agree where you're coming from. I can see where that potential car crash is going to come. I think it's right to address.
That's worst case scenario. Best case scenario is 26 teams, so we're going to lose 6. That's best case scenario. So
that's if we lose them. That's if we lose them. I take it there's a scenario that could see us run with a 24, potentially a 24 team.
But where does it stop? Because then next season you won't be 30, you'll be 32. Yeah. So then you know they've caused this problem by giving us 22 in the Premier Division.
So it was a good point, well raised. It was well debated, and I think everyone sort of agreed that it is something that we need to be prodding the FA in the ribs about from the get-go this season.
I don't know how they're going to solve it though.
I think the FA have got an idea.
Without giving us another Step 5 league, so that we have 2 and 2. I don't know how they'd solve it.
Let's get the development hat back on and get cooking again.
Well,
someone's going to have to give, isn't it, really? That perfect pyramid might need a bit of a kink in it somewhere along the line.
The perfect pyramid's there, but at Step 5 and 6, they've got to overlap each other, and they just don't do that. You know.
Fair dues.
It's good on paper, but it's not. It doesn't actually fit. So anyway, so we mentioned food quite a bit. So after the AGM, we go for lunch.
Oh yeah, we can get onto the cup draws in a bit.
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed the cup draws. Yeah, any other business, and then we did the cup draws. I forgot about lunch.
Which surprised me because it was sort of being hard as we were getting towards the end of the season whether or not we were going to do it or not. But on the day, you just said, yeah, sorry, we're going for it, get the balls out. Yeah,
so I forgot the cup draw. I was the ball master this year.
You're the host with the most.
Jeff Wilkinson was on holiday. I think I did it quite well, to be fair.
Yeah, I think without going into individual teams too much, the Macron Cup was divvied into groups, weren't it? So we had 4 groups. So and we sort of slightly regionalised it a little bit to give clubs a bit of a cap on travel.
Yeah, indeed.
Not too much in one, but enough.
Got 60 teams, haven't we, in effect? Yeah. So,
but not for the Division 1 Cup.
No, so to get down to 32, in effect, you need four clubs will get a bye. So they were chosen as basically the 4 highest clubs from last season.
The ones who got a bye were Charnock, Wythenshawe Town, Avro, and Northwich Victoria. If memory serves you, I think you had to do one of your glamorous ball draws.
So in effect, they're the teams that finished 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th last season.
Yeah.
So in effect, you're rewarded for finishing higher by getting a bye this year. The remaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 14. We split up into the remaining 56 teams are split into groups of 14.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So 14 in each group. So 28, 56, yeah.
Yeah. So, the other 56 clubs split up into 14. 7 ties that I think we're going to be regionalised to the quarter-final stage.
Yeah. Which I think makes sense. Even though it's our prestige cup competition.
This is the Macron Cup we're talking about. So, in effect, it's don't want Ellesmere Rangers travelling to Cleatham or Celtic again. It's just ridiculous.
And it's worth pointing out as well that these cups are running as per a normal season as well. We're not doing a fender season. That they're back in the mix. Normal vanilla season for us, isn't it, really?
Yeah, so the 15th of October is the round for first round of the Macron Cup. Then it'll be November and then it'll be December. So the idea is to get to Christmas, having reached the quarterfinal stage in both Macron Cup and Edward Case Cup.
Seems legit. And there was also the draw for the Edward Case Cup, which to you and me is the Division 1 Cup.
Yeah.
Very fine piece of kit as well.
Yeah. So
North and South sections on that.
Yeah, so this is for the first division clubs only. So, there's 40 clubs. So to get down to like a last 32 type thing. Well, first off, it's regionalised again into North and South, which follow the divisions.
Mm-hmm.
So to get down to the sort of 16 clubs in each division, we needed a preliminary round. So in effect, you had your new clubs facing off against teams who had finished in the bottom half of each division. The draw in order to get the preliminary round done, and then an open draw was made. Again within each division to get that.
So those new clubs face the lowest finishing non-relegated clubs in Division 1.
So let's take for example the North section. You've got Atherton LR against Exton Villa,
right.
FC St Helens against Darwin. So Exton Villa and FC St Helens, they're the new clubs that went to the league, and Atherton LR and Darwin were in there because they were the bottom two from the North section last season. Yeah,
okay, so if the editing goes right, the draw will already be on the screen. If it doesn't go right, just forget I said that.
It'll be on the screen because we're great.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah, so that's got potential. So we've got all the draws made. We're up and running on the cups. That went out, and I think that was quite well received on the day as well. I think it caught a couple of people out by surprise. Apologies to the likes of Sean Lynch. I really didn't know, but hey ho, it's a draw. Yeah. But it was still good to get that information out. And on the day itself, you were beavering away on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, getting all the info out quite quick as well. So,
the news from the AGM was on quite quickly, and then it was only when the cup draws were probably on within about an hour of them finishing. So, yeah. The only one I sort of got confused by was obviously AFC Darwin. They've changed the name to Darwin FC.
So there were one or two pointed out within milliseconds, but hey, you've got to give us time. You're trying to get the information out as quickly as possible.
It's like when when the new year comes about and you continue to write 2021 for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I think it's like that. So it'll just take a little bit of time.
Not intentional. It's just one of those things.
No, it's not intentional.
2 seasons in one day, in effect. So stuff happens.
Yeah. So Darwin changed the name to Darwin.
Darwin FC, yeah.
Darwin FC.
So fair play to them. So Martin, did you mention lunch before?
Yeah, so a nice lunch followed.
Was that for all the clubs?
No, just for me and you.
Yeah, I had to rush as well because I was looking at me little apps on my phones and my train home was cancelled. Yeah. So I was shoveling it in, trying to leg it to the train station and made it with that minute and a half to spare.
No, it was just a candlelit lunch for me and you, Gary. What was it?
Yeah. Did you go for the fish or the chicken curry?
The fish and chips.
Oh, superb. The mushy.
Nice. Had to hunt around for the vinegar. Wasn't on the table. Got some in the end.
Slightly bereft of condiments, admittedly, but any port in a storm.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens then, Mark? Do you all go and play croquet?
Basically, after lunch, the afternoon was our own. The Imperial got to work setting the room up, to hand over to us for the dinner, which was later that evening. So there's some sort of debate, with clubs. Is that too big a gap? 11 o'clock AGM and then presentation later on. I know there was a few mumbles about it, saying, can't we have the AGM at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then the dinner?
You've got to have time to do your hair, though, haven't you, and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. To be honest, I did. I cut my hair on Friday, ready for the AGM, and I missed the bit there. which I noticed at breakfast. Nobody else really noticed.
Blackpool.
I was like, and then yeah, so I had to go back and finish it off. But yeah, I think the room has to sort of get organised. I mean, I'd go one step further to that and ask clubs: should presentation night be on the same day as the AGM? Do you want it a different day in a different venue?
You wouldn't turn up.
Well, that's the question.
I think that's the thing as a league. We found, I know I found over the years when we put on events and courses and so on, everyone would be enthusiastic about setting these things up, but then everyone would have something on the day. You'd end up with 6 to 10 clubs out of 60 rocking up on the day, or out of 40, as it was, 36 at the time. Yeah, and I think whilst you've got that captive audience, you've got to make the best of it. But by all accounts, Martin, it was a good night and worth the wait. It
was a very good night, to be honest. Yeah. So the meal started, or the entertainment of the evening started at what, 7 o'clock? Seating for 7 o'clock, eating at 7:25. It was a lovely sort of chicken dinner. I can't remember what was starters, watermelon and feta cheese. Who knew they worked well together? Honestly.
That sort of stuff gets flicked into the yucca plant in the corner from my side.
Taste sensation in your mouth, honestly.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it is. And then, chicken dinner and something for afterwards. Can't remember. Might have been cheesecake or something.
Or fruit?
No, just cake.
Well, it works for me.
And then cheese and biscuits afterwards. Bar in the corner, wine on the table. It was...
I wasn't there that evening because I had childcare issues and what have you, so I wasn't there. But what a lot of people were saying, and the good feedback that was coming out on the night, was that it seems to be more of a sports person's dinner format, a bit of a change to the usual format that we had, Martin. So I know you were extensively involved with it, weren't you, with a couple of our colleagues? I
was involved in planning this year, along with a few of the management committee. It's just because I just thought I haven't got enough on. I need something else to get my team.
That's title number 8.
So
it's one of those though. We all look in for whatever we can. It's not one of those, not set in stone, but it was good to have some freshish thinking to liven things up, because it's the first time we've been all together for 3 years.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. So previously, but the entertainment sort of consisted of singers, bands, a comedian. It's
cabaret.
Exactly, yeah, it's a cabaret type thing.
Like the cabaret that you were watching in my hotel on the Friday night.
She was really good, to be fair. It's just, I felt sorry for her. There was nobody there listening to her.
Yeah, there was 8 and 9, and then we rocked up. So that took up to about 11, and I had enough after about 30 seconds, and then just left you to it.
You just laughed at her and left. I thought that was unfair, Gary.
I wasn't laughing. No.
You went.
I certainly didn't point. I was too discreet. Otherwise, she would have come over and sang to us. So no, I was sort of like, oh, Christ. She's a bit. She was good. It was, like I say, it was just the fact that there was about 8, 9 people huddled in the corner of this group.
No. So yeah, we made the decision. It's a football dinner. Let's try a football person. So we had Steve Kindon as the special guest. He used to play for Burnley and Wolves and Huddersfield. Mm-hmm. I think he went down rather well. The whole room was very respectful to him. I'm not sure, perhaps some of the younger members of the room, sort of didn't connect. Maybe it's something we need to look at for next year. But I think, it was definitely a step in the right direction from sort of previous.
So next year you could end up with a Paul Merson as opposed to an Elton Wellesby, although to be fair, Elton Wellesby would be...
Yeah, whatever, just Jeff Stelling. We'll look, whatever, just somebody who may connect with some younger members of the room.
Still different and fresh, though. Still, it worth a go.
Yeah, and if anybody's got any suggestions, again, it's for the benefit of the club. So get in touch with me or Paul Lawler, Debbie, whoever. Just get in touch with us and with some suggestions, and we'll look into them for next year. Because if it's good and it gets clubs in attendance, it gets. Particularly pleasing this year, I think, was the number of managers and players that were in the room. That was very encouraging. It was very nice to see that, I thought. So, yeah, that was good.
Lots of good pictures going out as well. Lots of good team pictures.
We had Adam G, who is a local Blackpool radio star type thing. He was our host.
I'm familiar with his Walter Mark.
He was really no. Sorry, I'm getting confused here.
Adam's a photographer, isn't he? AFC Blackpool.
Yeah, Adam's the AFC Blackpool photographer. So he came along on the evening to cover the event with some photos, which should be on the league website this week. Just had a busy week with one thing and another, just switching the website over to the new season. Jed Mills, Jed Mills, I can't remember his surname. Jed was the host anyway. He's a Blackpool radio guy. He was very, very good, to be fair. Threw in a bit of humour. He interviewed players when they come up to get their awards and stuff. It was good. So it was just a really good presentation night after the dinner, really.
Have a good MC on these things as well. Somebody can just lead the night on.
Yeah. So all in all, very good evening, Gary.
Excellent stuff. And a few sore heads on the Sunday, I dare suggest.
Oh, mine was.
Right, okay. So that's pretty much the AGM, top and bottom. Shuffle of paper. However, so what next? We've started the 22-23 season, have we, Martin? So we're in business. We've got the cup draws done. We're all good to go. We've just got to wait for the start of the season, which is on
30th of July this year.
Yeah.
July start.
Okay. And we've got the Champions Trophy as well, haven't we, somewhere along the line? Or is that
the Champions Trophy is the first one,
right?
Basically, which is
Schem Charnock, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Macron. It's usually the league winners against the Macron Cup winners. However, we got informed by Macclesfield, unfortunately, that they wouldn't be fulfilling this fixture this year. So, first time in 40 years that the champions have not played in this fixture, regrettably. But it's up to them, they're playing Huddersfield instead on the same day, or whoever. Who cares? So, Charnock, Richard are playing Skelmersdale United.
Kudos to Skemno for stepping in. Yeah, I think they see it for what it is, which is a prestigious curtain opener to certainly our season. But I think
it's like the Charity Shield for our level in effect. So Skelmersdale obviously got promoted last season. They won the playoff in the Premier Division, so they'll be playing, the traditional curtain raiser. That'll be on the 23rd of July at Charnock Richard. 3 p.m. kickoff. There's also the First Division Champions Cup final, which is our two First Division sides. First Division winners from last season, so Bury against West Didsbury and Chorlton, but I've not been informed of a date for that yet.
TBA.
Yeah, TBA.
Okay, on the subject of games then, Martin, here we are in June, but maybe you can explain something to me and the other viewers. I mean, I've got an inkling of what's going on, but there are a number of pre-season games taking place already. We're on Wednesday, the 22nd here recording, and Darwin FC are hosting Cambridge.
I've got that list.
Yeah. So the pre-season games already starting.
I've got to give a shout out to Paul Calburn, who puts this together every year.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
He puts this together and he sends it to me. So he sends it to me today. So this should all be on the website tomorrow. All this list of pre-season games. But the first pre-season game on here, Friday the 17th of June. That was before the AGM.
How do you work that one out then, Martin? How can clubs play in June in the so-called closed season? I've got an idea. You've
got to get permission off County FA to play. The both clubs have got to be affiliated.
Right.
And insurances are already in place because your insurance is run all year round in effect.
So it's calendar-based insurance.
Yeah, it's like your car insurance. It runs from the 1st of July till the 30th of June the next year, and then it'll kick in again. But you've got to be affiliated because unless you're affiliated, you're not insured. So that's why you have to get permission off your county FA to play it. Which I've no problem with June friendlies, to be perfectly honest. The fact is, you used to start the season the second week of August, so you didn't need to play in June. But now we're starting increasingly earlier. We're starting in July this year. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need your pre-seasons in June just to get going.
Well, there's a couple of games knocking around. There's more than a couple of games knocking around this Saturday, but I think I've got a choice. I think we've actually got two all North West Counties games.
I've got 4 Edgerton against Prestwich Hayes, Hurst Green against Padiham, Macclesfield.
Postponed.
Are they postponed then too? Are they?
Yeah, you've got Pilks versus Sandbach.
Pilks versus Sandbach, yeah, and a Macclesfield 11.
There's
Macclesfield 11 against Atherton LR.
I can actually add one to that as well, because I believe Asheville are playing at Holywell Town as well as Saturday, because I was umming and ahhing over, having a little drive over for that one.
All right, and then there's a couple on Tuesday, including Longridge Town against Bolton Wanderers and Darwin against Blackburn Rovers.
Mm-hmm. Exton Villa versus Chorley as well. Might be a good opportunity to go and have a little look around while the weather's good. Although I think the ground's a million miles away from the train station, having a little look at it. Not that there might be any trains.
No, it's not that far. It's only 1.8 mile, I think. So it's not the main train station. It's just the nearest train station.
It's doable. It's just along a sort of Vauxhall Motors-esque country lane.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Watch out for
so yeah, pre-season games they'll be on the website by the time this airs. Basically, it is what, Tuesday evening now. So hopefully
is it Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday, isn't it?
Wednesday. Oh yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday evening now. Hopefully I'll get this up by tomorrow. So Thursday.
Subject to the new editing regime, which we'll have a stab at. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's certainly one thing we need to be doing this season, is getting these out as close as we can to recording as well. But that's for us.
Definitely.
No more drawing. But yeah, plenty of pre-season games. And
to be honest, there's no editing. You know, if we mess up, like me going through the fridge, I think what we used to do back in the day, we used to edit so it was perfect. And at the end of the day, if I'm disappearing to go to the fridge for 20 seconds, the viewers are not going to go.
Exactly. But I think what we're going to do,
I'm going to not watch and watch pointless celebrities on ITV Player instead.
I think we said back in season 7, didn't we, towards the end of season 7, that if we could get some graphics up and get a bit of info out, then all the better. And if we can just smarten things up a little bit, then we will. But a lot of people like the edginess of this, but also we acknowledge that we've got to get these things back on the likes of iCloud or iTunes and Spotify and so on, because we do have a good and loyal audio audience as well. And ideally, if we can sneak a couple of interviews in, which is another thing in the pipeline, and all the better.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get interviews throughout the season regularly. There,
we'll get it back to Counties Podcast Prime, circa season 4.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. So with the temperature currently in Anfield at 22 degrees Celsius, which ain't good for 7 o'clock at night, I think it's time for me to wrap this up. So from sunny Anfield, it's been a pleasure. And Martin, thank you very much for your attendance on this podcast this evening.
Yep, sunny Ronnie is big as well, to be fair.
You've got to be 22, 23 down there at least.
I don't even know why you tell. Is it on your? Oh, I've got a thing on my phone here.
Depends on what type of thing that you've got on your laptop. I've got a little temperature thing, a little.
It's 23 degrees.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
You need a couple of skulls on ice there, mate.
I got in my car the other day. I don't know if you can see this on my phone or not. Can you see that temperature?
Holy moly.
Yeah.
And you get 48.5 miles to the gallon as well.
Yeah.
That's not bad going.
So, yeah, I got in my car and I was like, oh, get the windows open. Can't sit back like that because I've burned me back on the seats.
Scorcho steering wheel.
Yeah. You literally got to sit there for 4 or 5 minutes before you can move.
But in a straight line. Roundabouts? Nah.
Yeah. Oh,
well. Martin, it's been a pleasure to catch up. It's good to see that you're covered in the weekend.
As always, yeah.
So, end of podcast.